It's good to see you all. In the chat, I actually didn't put this question, but it would be wonderful if you put in the chat where you are this evening. I'm looking to be more original with my questions for these events, but that does seem to be the default. Where are you? The other link or information I put in the chat is a link if this is pay what you can. Nobody's going to know either way. So pay what you can. You want to pay $1? It's great. Nothing? Great. You want to pay $1,000? Okay, I'll take that too. That's cool. I'll take that too. We're going to introduce our first storyteller at around 10 after 7. So we have a few minutes here of in-between time. Again, I know people are coming in at different times. Where are you? I'll do a little introduction, and then we were going to roll into our first storyteller. And if Dave Nelson is here, Dave, let me know you're here. So we've got, and I know some of you, and our storytellers can also see the chat. I'm curious to see if anybody's here that you know, showing you some love. Hello, Sue in East Hartford. I believe Sue was at a storytelling event I told the story at last night. It's really good to see you. You said you were going to be here, and you're here. Awesome. Thank you. Hi, Jess in, I think the ME is for Maine or Massachusetts. Oh, how embarrassing. If one must unmute themselves and correct me, please let me know.
Oh, that's Maine, man. That's my home state.
Oh, sorry, Cheryl.
But,
all right,
MA,
Jess is in Maine.
But I live in Massachusetts now, so I've, you know.
Oh, man. Oh, yeah, I know Massachusetts is MS, right? I am going to stop because I'm clearly
Oh,
not.
God. MA is Massachusetts.
Beth, hello in Chicago. Ashton in LA. I know Ashton is friends with Erica, who's one of our storytellers this evening. Hello, Jennifer in Wilmette, north of Chicago. You know, I think if I go through all these, it might feel a little long, but you know what? I want to say hello to everybody, so I'm going to do it. Hal in Urbana-Champaign, who was also there last night. Julianne in LA. Julianne, there's 2 Julianne. Oh, no, it's the same one. You just wrote twice. Okay. I was like, what are the odds that there are 2 Juliannes in LA that are here? Cool. I remember you, Julianne, from last week. Cheryl, here for Erica, and only Erica. That's awesome. It's good to see you. I like that our storytellers are bringing people. This is wonderful. Hey, Mary Jo, Tucson. All right, cool. Erica Blumfield is one of our storytellers. I see you. She's here in LA. Cool. I will remind you, I'm going to put this in there. Now, when I put in any links to the pay what you can, I promise you that is not me being aggressive. But with the chat, what happens is you won't see it. So here and there, now and at the break and afterwards during our Q&A, I will put that. And really, if you wanna contribute, that's wonderful. And if you don't want to or you can't, that's really okay. Most important is that you're here, that you took a little time out of your evening and you wanted to hear and watch some really good storytellers sharing some, what I believe are really good stories. Cool. Hey, Jess in Maine, I think I might be being a little redundant at this point. Cheryl is in MS is Mississippi. Thank you, Cheryl. Any other corrections, just have them coming in the chat at me. Personal or everyone, yeah. Hey, Kurt in Mass. All right, cool. Cool. So I'm always thinking about how to be engaging or compelling and make for good like Zoom TV. I'm still working on that. I think the most important thing that I want you to know, no bullshit here. You are taking time out of your evenings and you can be doing so many things and you're opting to spend what will likely be around 80 or 90 minutes with us to watch or listen to our storytellers. And that's like a big thing. So I really thank you for that. I think it's a big deal and I appreciate your support in whatever form it looks like. I know most people who are here this evening, I've met you in some way. So a quick thing here. My name is Sean. I'm from New York. I live in North Carolina. You probably know that we had a group called Life in the Time of Corona. Some of you know that. I recently changed that to Grit, True Stories That Matter. Either way, it doesn't matter. The goal of all of this is to create a space for people to share stories, true stories. And I subjectively say true stories that matter. Some people think I'm a little bit of a snob for that, deciding what stories matter and what don't. I'm okay with being a snob. It's the New Yorker in me. You could take the, anyhow. We are a couple of just sort of logistical things. We are on Facebook Live. We are streaming. So if that's not cool with you, I can't change that. But what you can do is on the upper right-hand section of your picture, there are 3 little dots. And you can click there and it gives you a bunch of different options. And one of them is to stop video. So if you stop video, we will not see you. We may see an image. We may just see your name. We may just see a black thing. So if the Facebook Live thing freaks you out or it's just not your thing, that's an option. I want to let you know that. All right. I don't know what you know about Zoom. So a couple logistical things. Towards the top right of the screen, especially if you're on a laptop, it's a little different on a phone. You'll have an option for speaker view or what's the other one called? Gallery. I like speaker because you see the main person who's talking. Gallery gives you a bunch of little boxes. So you might want to experiment with that right now. We have a couple of minutes before I introduce our first teller. See which one you like the most. It doesn't affect anything on our end. It's just purely how you see it. Okay, cool. And the final thing I want to say logistically is that there's a chat function. It's available for phones and laptops or desktops. Because you're muted, you can't say anything, or if you do say something, we can't hear you. So if you want to communicate with anybody, be it the tellers or others, you can use the chat function. And if you see on the chat function, you can send a chat to everyone or to a specific person. So if you want to say something like, great job to the storyteller, just find their name, okay? Now we will have a break after our third storyteller. Take about 5 minutes. You can refresh your drinks. You can go to the bathroom. You can do whatever else you'd like to do. Then we'll have 3 more tellers. And then afterwards we have a Q&A. So our tellers will stick around. We will unmute you, and if you want to ask questions or get involved in the event in that kind of way, I welcome you to do that. It's all good. All right. So let me introduce our first teller this evening. Okay. Man, this is going to be good. So our first storyteller has been telling stories since 2015. Prior to that, he spent nearly 3 decades telling other people's stories as an actor and director in community theater. Man, I got to talk to you about that, Jack. Stories about community theater. He was performing with groups throughout the Washington, D.C. area. He holds a bachelor's degree in communication studies from Northern Illinois. I could be wrong. I think that's the Salukis, but that might be Southern Illinois.
That's Southern. I'm a Husky.
Oh, sorry about that. Jackson Husky. He participated on the speech and debate team, but tonight is not a debate. It is a story. He's a native Chicagoan. Go Cubs. He now resides in Silver Springs, Maryland. Please welcome our first storyteller, Jack Scheer. Jack, take it away.
So when I started therapy 8 or 9 years ago, the last thing I expected to be talking about was the classic, my parents. I had pretty good childhood, so I didn't think there was a lot that would come up along those lines. But as my therapist and I began to look at the events of my life with a critical eye, it became clear there were some issues there. And about half of my sessions ended up being about my parents. And whenever I came out of a session like that, I would come out frustrated and angry. Some of it was about the past. There were things about my childhood that I thought were great, but looking at them with perspective, there were issues. The other half of it was I'd been having more strained relations with my parents as the years had gone on. A big reason for this was they were in bad health and it was only getting worse. And I was trying to convince them to do something to help themselves, move into assisted living or have a nurse come in and visit. I even tried to convince them to move closer to me and my brother so that we could be there to help them. They refused and kind of pretended there were no problems. So as I was digging up all this stuff in therapy and getting to know myself better, the therapy itself was great for me. It was these feelings that were a problem. And I think all of my meddling made my parents sour on me as well. By the end of it, but well, not the end, but certainly when things were worst, we were barely talking. The only time we would talk was birthdays, holidays, and emergencies. One day, 2 years ago, our relationship changed dramatically in one day. And because of that, despite all the good that it was doing, I decided to quit therapy. It was a Saturday, early fall, and I was getting ready to enjoy some college football. I just cracked open a beer, settling into the couch, put my feet up on the ottoman, and my phone rings. It's my parents. It's not a holiday, and it ain't my birthday. Hello? Jack, it's Mom. Hi, Mom. What can I do for you? Your dad's sick, and he needs to go to the hospital. Now, they've been going to the hospital quite a bit over the last few years because of their health. And usually they wouldn't tell me about it until after the fact, another way of trying to keep control and keep me in the dark. One time, I didn't find out about it until months later, and then only because they put it in the Christmas letter. So the fact that Mom was calling now meant something was really bad. All right, Mom, tell me what's happening. What's happening right now? Well, your father fell, and I tried to help him up, but I couldn't, and I ran and got a neighbor. He couldn't help either, so I called an ambulance, and they're going to take him to the hospital now. Well, how is he? Is he conscious? How bad is it? Oh, honey, this is all so hard. Listen, I'm just going to hand you to the police officer. Oh, shit. If there's a police officer there, that means something's horribly wrong. He comes on, and he suggests that I get in the car and get down there immediately because my mother is going to need me. He hands the phone back. All right, Mom, listen, it's going to take me an hour to get to you. I'm going to call Stacy and see if she can drive you to the hospital. I don't want you driving right now. Okay? Yeah, that's fine. I'll see you at the hospital. Stacy is not only my best friend, but she is a family friend. She loves my parents. I call and she's more than willing to get Mom and take her to the hospital. I hop in the car and I immediately blare the music because I can't think about what might be happening down there. I can't afford for my imagination to run away with me. So I just concentrate on the music and focus on my only job right now, which is getting to the hospital. And as I pull off the road, off the beltway, I realize I don't know which hospital I'm going to. My father has been to a couple of different ones over the years. At the next red light, I text Stacy, and a minute later, she's calling. Stace, where am I headed? Jack, I'm so sorry. I have to do this. Your father died. Okay. Are you in Clinton or La Plata? Clinton. Okay, I'll be there in 10 minutes. I pull into the parking lot. Stacy meets me, gives me a hug, takes me into the waiting room of the emergency department where Mom is sitting. I lean down and I hug her. We don't really say anything. It's clear we're all in shock. And after about 30 minutes, I go to the nurse's station and I say, can we see him? About 15 minutes later, someone comes back and says, we needed to clean him up. You can come this way. And as we're walking to the room, Stacy and Mom and I discuss, and we decide we're each going to go in alone, one at a time. Mom goes in first, spends 3 or 4 minutes. She comes back out. It's my turn. I walk into the room and I see my father's body. He is slightly propped up on a hospital bed. He's bare-chested, a sheet covering the rest of him. He's still intubated. I'm angry about this. Why didn't they take the tube out? I wonder. I get a little closer and I look at his face. I don't know what I'm expecting to see. Agony, shock, pain. But instead, he looks serene, at peace. I want to feel him, touch him one last time in this world. And this is my only chance. Years ago, Dad had decided to donate his body to medical science. There will be no wake, no funeral. This is it. I reach out and I hold him by the shoulder. He's still warm. And I look down at his face and I try to quickly come to terms with the fact that he's gone. And after a minute, I step back. Okay. I love you. Goodbye. 2 days later, I went into my therapist's office for the last time. Even though therapy had been great for me and helped me in a lot of areas, I knew I had to stop. That police officer had been right. My mom needed me now. And I know there was no way I could help her while also carrying those feelings of frustration and anger, and who knows what else might come up after Dad was gone. So I put my feelings on the shelf and got about helping Mom. Late last year, I finally got her into assisted living. She is comfortable and safe. A couple of months ago, I sold their house. I still have a couple of chores to do for Mom, some loose ends to tie up for Dad. But once I've checked those final items off my list, I think I'm going to be calling my therapist to see if I can get my old slot back. Thank you.
Thanks, Jack.
Thank you.
Yeah. I have a question about that story, if I may ask.
Please.
I'm always hesitant because I know when we share stories, certain kinds of stories in particular, it's not as if you want to, sometimes you need a little space to breathe. So I want to honor that. Usually I ask people about the content of the story, but I'm actually curious about the crafting of the story. When you write a story about a parent, your father, I don't know what the word is I'm looking for. I mean, it's a silly thing to ask as if it's hard, but what is it that, what's particularly challenging about that? Because I feel like there's a lot of moving parts to a story like that, and it might be tricky to sort of get it on paper and share it.
I think for me, the tricky part was finding a focus for it. I mean, obviously, this is the death of a parent, and that's one of those experiences in life. And thankfully, when I initially crafted this, I was doing it for a show with my main group, Better Said Than Done. And the theme that night was Love Sucks. And I had been writing a very different story about two of my grandparents, my father's dad and my mother's mother, and some political arguments we'd had, and whether it was more loving to just let it go or to respect them and engage. And the story was going nowhere. And then I started to run it by our fearless leader, Jessica Robinson, who is here tonight. Thank you for coming,
hey, Jessica.
And she knew all of this. She knew about my dad dying. In fact, I was supposed to host a show a week after he died, and she very smartly said, maybe take that night off.
Yeah.
But she said, she said, maybe it's time for you to look at this, because I know you've been thinking about it. I know it's been on your mind. And she, as soon as she said it, I knew it was the right thing to do. And having that focus of love sucks, I had in that a way to narrow it down, which is what was bad about this. And that helped a lot. And when I initially wrote it, I had a lot about this therapy that I'd been doing, and that ended up getting cut the first time. So I was able to bring it back for this.
Yeah. I appreciate it. I think I presumably can speak for everybody, and there's people who have put in the comments. So check that when you have a moment, because there's some love coming your way. I do know, and this is for you and for the other tellers, be it here or elsewhere, some of these stories are not easy to craft until you try. And not just emotionally. I mean, just what's the word? Just emotionally can be difficult, but just actually crafting something that works is hard. So thank you.
You're very welcome. Thank you for letting me share this. I appreciate it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. One last thing before we move on to our second storytellers. Cubs?
I was born in Evanston, Illinois. I was born in Evanston, Illinois in 1970. My grandfather was born in North Chicago, Illinois in 1909. He never saw the Cubs win a World Series in his life. When it happened in 16, it was just so amazing. And there's so many people I wish could have still been there.
Yeah.
But yeah, I bleed Cubby Blue, and the years of disappointment have done me well.
I'm not sure if anybody looks like they're from Chicago or that area, and it might even be insulting, but you do.
I love that. There is a Chicago look, and I see it when I go home to visit folks.
I think you have the Chicago look,
and I love it. If that's what I have, I am thrilled.
Yeah. Thank you again. I appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. I was informed that while I was having the conversation I was with Jack there, my video was off. I will likely be making several production mistakes as we move forward. This is about the storytellers and not me, but it is important. So, yeah, thank you, Jack. So our next storyteller, she doesn't have a long introduction. Here's what I know about her. I know several things about her. She's originally from New Jersey, and if she's not, she's going to let me know, but she'll do that after her story. She's from LA. She's a kick-ass storyteller. Now, she didn't tell me to say that. I'm choosing to say that. She's been on Risk, among other spaces and places, and we'll put a link for that after. But without further ado, please welcome Erica Blumfield.
Thank you. Okay. I had been living in Los Angeles for 6 years and was working in public relations at a trendy hotel in Los Angeles when I was fired for erratic behavior. My friends and family were worried about me. I was wandering the streets of Los Angeles day and night, telepathically communicating to the sun and the moon in my kimono. I saw doctors and I was diagnosed with bipolar disorder and told I was in a manic state, that I had broken from reality. But I doubted these words and I argued, who knows what reality is anyway? Maybe my reality is the accurate one. And what about multiple reality theory? Who are you to say what is real? On this one night, I was at a McDonald's and I was going from table to table, pleading with the customers to join me in a strike against McDonald's. I was saying to them, it's an evil corporation. It's poisoning us and the children are the future. And they're taking advantage of people who are just struggling to afford to feed themselves. I hopped up on the silver counter and trying to get the employees to boycott and crying, we must join all together. When the police arrived, I called them assholes and I was taken to the psych ward and committed. Like always, I was sitting with Charlotte, my only friend on the ward. She was a woman in her late 80s who said that she had rode with the Hells Angels and she had a spider and spider web tattooed across her shoulder blades. And when I would try to lead her in yoga, she would say, I wish I could do that. It looks like a million orgasms. Charlotte and I liked to color flowers together. We had these adult coloring books, and she was very conscientious about what colors she was going to use and meticulous about staying in the lines. And I tried to emulate Charlotte, but my artistic talent lied in words. I was never very good at staying in the lines. I always aspired to be a published writer, and I had studied writing in college, and I had boxes and boxes of journals and notebooks filled with my musings and my deepest feelings and my stories. As we colored, Charlotte's eyes would tear up and she'd say, I miss my garden. Charlotte was sneezing and just had this terrible cold, and her nose was dry and almost bleeding. And I told her that the tissues that they were supplying us with were unacceptable. They were like sandpaper, and that I was going to take care of this, and I was going to talk to John the orderly, and that he did not intimidate me. I crossed the room to where John the orderly was, as usual, sitting on the couch, talking on the phone about how he wanted to bag this bitch or bang that bitch. But on this particular night, I heard him say something that I had never heard him say before. He had actually gotten a woman to sleep with him. But then I heard him say something too that I had never heard him say. He said, I'm in such a good mood, I'm gonna take the crazies outside tonight. And I froze because I had not been outside for almost 2 months since they had brought me into the hospital. John saw me standing there and he barks at me, can I help you? And I almost forgot my tissue mission. But I said, you know, these tissues are like sandpaper and Charlotte deserves better. And he said, oh yeah? Well, if Charlotte needs something, she needs to ask herself. And I said, she's an old woman, she needs help. He said, you're interfering with a patient's program and she's a manipulator. That's what Charlotte is. You better shut it, he said, or you won't be going outside. And he walked away. I rushed over to Charlotte though, and I told her the good news that we were going outside. And John was starting to line people up and get the patients together to take us outside. And I started to help Charlotte out of her seat when John says, not Charlotte. If she's so sick, she's staying inside. And I tried to convince Charlotte to let me fight for her, but her eyes were sad and she said, don't go, have fun. Because she knew that if I fought for her, it would mean more time locked up for the both of us. Outside, I, for the first time, felt the fresh air on my face and saw the sky again. And I sat on the cool grass away from the rest of the group, and I just breathed in the air. And then I began to pick the flowers, well, the weeds really, from the grass that I was sitting on, and tie the end of the stems together one after the next, fashioning a flower crown for my head. And I felt renewed, this bit of nature lifting my spirits, and I knew it would keep me going. Our half hour outside was up, and we were herded back into the ward, and I saw Charlotte sitting across the room, slumped in a chair, and I immediately went over to her. And as she saw me, her eyes lit up and locked on the flowers on my head. And she said, "It's beautiful." And so I removed the flowers from my own head and I placed them upon hers. And I pronounced her Queen Charlotte. And we both felt happy in a way that I know neither of us had felt in so long. And in fact, soon after, Charlotte was released, having shown signs of improvement ever since that night. As we said our tearful goodbye, Charlotte hugged me and I said, "I don't know if I can make another minute alive in here." And Charlotte said, "If an old lady like me can make it out alive, so can you." And Charlotte was right. I did. I did make it out alive. Thank you.
Great job, Erica. I just saw the word badass in the chat. I think it was directed at you. I get that sometimes, but I believe you are worthy of it at this moment far more than I am. Oh, man. Charlotte, right?
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Beautiful.
Is that what? Yeah?
Yeah, but it was Philly. But New Jersey's the same. I spent the summers in Jersey. So
Oh,
Jersey,
I got it
Philly.
wrong. Shit. I got it wrong. Man. You know, I make this mistake where I put Philly, in my mind, Philly is New Jersey, but it's actually not.
It's not as spa. Oh, I love Jersey. All about, I don't dislike anything about Jersey or Philly. We got good stuff.
Where are you from?
I grew up in Philadelphia, like in the city of Philly.
Got you.
Yeah.
So just to be clear, you're from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, not Philadelphia, New Jersey.
No. Exactly.
I'm having geography issues. It's not about. This is a conversation for a different show, not 7 by 7, the mental health struggle. Thank you for sharing that.
Thank you, Sean, for having me.
Yeah. Is that hard to tell?
I like telling this one a lot because I feel that it reminds me that no matter like how hard times can feel or how dark the times have feel, like we can kind of probably go back in our memory bank and find moments like this of friendship or randomness and how it helped us through those times. It lifts me up remembering her. So I like telling it. It's hard to write and then I process it, I guess, as I write it. Yeah.
Yeah. Now, I will say, if anyone who is listening, Facebook Live or here on Zoom, wants to check out Erica's appearance on Risk, which is a pretty badass story podcast, it's really good. Like this level, like it's really good. So can you put the link to that? If you can. If not, here's the thing. If you can, you can just go to Risk. If you go on, Spotify or Apple or wherever you listen to podcasts, and you search for Risk, and you may need an exclamation point, Risk! Exclamation, RIT. You'll find it. Just search for a name. It's a really good story, but Risk did an interesting thing with your stories that they added this sort of audio story component to it, which I liked. They did a really good job with that. So you've got like 25 minutes to hear a pretty kick-ass story. I would highly recommend that. Do you agree, Erica? I mean,
I think that that I worked, you know, it was like, yeah, I think that it turned out, I'm really happy with it. I feel that it was hard. That was hard. It was very emotional, but it was a great process. And I appreciate the music design so much.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's hard to comment on your own work because then it's like, well, I wish I had told this part of the story a little more like this. But no, I feel really grateful for the whole thing. Yeah, really grateful.
No, it's definitely, especially when you add the audio component, the music, and additional interviews that weren't just from you sharing a story from stage. You know, it's truly a collaboration. So the link is in the chat. So don't check it out right now. Wait until the end of our show. And wait until the end of our show, and then click on that link and check out Risk. And look, it's all good. There's some great stories, and they're found in different places. So wonderful. So thanks again, Erica.
I want to give Ashton a shout out because she has an incredible episode on Risk that just came out. Ashton Cynthia Clark. If you can check her out on Risk too.
All right. I heard it. I agree with you. It's really good. Very honest. Really honest.
Mm-hmm.
I love no bullshit, honest, I'm not that great kind of stories. You know what I mean? Like, I'm trying, I'm doing the best I can. Oh, I think I might have made a mistake here in life at some point, and then willing to share it. Bring me those stories. I love them. Anyhow, you can celebrate your accomplishments as well, by all means. But hey, cool. All right. Hey, Ashton, and thanks again, Erica.
Thank you.
Yeah, my pleasure. And I'm going to introduce our third storyteller, and then we're going to have a quick break, 5 minutes, go to the bathroom, get wine, do you, have a couple little announcements about some stuff that we're doing, and then we will come back with our storyteller 4, 5, and 6. Now, our next storyteller, our third storyteller, he has 2 names. So I know him as Dave Nelson. Some of the world knows him as Dave Emmanuel, but either way, his name is Dave. And here's what I want you to know about Dave. Dave tells jokes and stories out of Madison, Wisconsin, which is a city or a town I've never been to and I want to go. Beyond stand-up comedy, he has won Moth Story Slams, not easy to do, in Chicago, Madison, Milwaukee, and the Twin Cities. He has also participated in the National Storytelling Festival, it's just one. And despite having a PhD in political science, man, Dave, I'm totally asking you about that after your story. He's never told a political joke on stage, and I think we're all grateful for that. Most of his stuff is about puberty, awkward sex, midlife crises, and of course, what he is planning to share with us right now. Please give it up for Dave Nelson. Dave.
Oh, okay, how's my video coming in? Can you see me?
You're beautiful, man.
All right, well, I am what I am, so that's good. First of all, I'm sorry for coming in a little late. I got my ring light set up, got my room set up. I was very proud of myself that I went and made my dinner. And then I came back and found out that I had the wrong time zone. So my apologies for that little bit here. But let me tell you a little bit. I grew up back in the 80s with a slew of stuff going on in my brain. I had depression, I had anxiety, obsessive compulsive disorder, I had dyslexia, I had ADHD before they diagnosed it. But the thing I was scared of most, what bothered me the most, was not any of these disorders, not any of these problems that I ran around town with. It was that somebody would know I was different, right? I grew up in Fresno, California, a desert kind of town that's been irrigated, tough kids running around in the 70s and then into the 80s. And back then, you know, we didn't have regular folks who had mental health needs. We had regular people, and we had crazy people. We had people on the street who talked to themselves. We had institutions. We had hospitals. And you know, I could be weird, but my gosh, I didn't want people to know everything that was going on in my head. So I hid everything, right? Or I tried to. I said that I had obsessive compulsive disorder. One of the things that happened to me was if I went upstairs, for every 3 stairs I went up, I had to take a step back down. Had to. Or bad things could happen. We're talking, this is the 80s, right? So we're talking about nuclear confrontation, all on my shoulders, all resting on my shoulders. And I didn't want anybody to know that I was crazy, but also this is what was going on, the stress. I hid my anxieties really well. I remember I had a social life. I did sleepovers, and I trained my dog because I was scared of going out TPing on the streets with all the other. We'd go out and we'd throw toilet paper and eggs on people's cars and houses because that's what you did. But I was scared of the night, like trembling scared. So I trained my dog that if I gave her the signal, snap my fingers like that, she would start barking like crazy. So when we got to the door and we were ready to go out, I'd kind of do this on the side. The dog would freak out, go a little bit nuts for me. We'd all went back into our sleeping bags and I would avoid the TPing. I had strategies everywhere. And I made it. People knew I was a weird kid, but I wasn't one of them. I wasn't an other. And that's what I didn't want to be. I didn't want to be an other. Now, fast forward into the 90s, even with all that, I graduate college, I go off to Washington, D.C., and I'm working on my passion. I end up a mental health advocate, working there on mental health budgets and mental health parity. I'm working for the things that I think are important. And you know, by now, Prozac has come out, right? So mental health is a little bit different. We're all talking about our mental health needs. We're all going to therapy. We're all taking our pills and we felt a little bit cool because we could talk about our mental health needs. But there was still an other. There was still a them. There were people like me. We had jobs, we had families, and then there were the folks who are homeless, the folks in institutions, the folks who may not talk as smoothly, may have dry mouth, may have gained weight from their medications, may have slurred their words, may not have dressed as well as everybody else, may have looked a little bit different. And I was a mental health advocate. I had a job and a family and a nice house, and I worked on mental health budgets, and I was cool. And I was working for those people and those issues. But you know, Sean said this is a story. He likes stories where somebody admits they were a jerk, basically, he said, and make mistakes. And I was an arrogant jerk because I thought I was different. I thought there was something different between me and the people who really had mental illness. And I remember I was at a conference of the National Alliance for the Mentally Ill in Washington, D.C. at the Hilton. And I don't know if anybody here has gone to a NAMI meeting, but it's kind of like high school at a conference. There are distinct groups of people. There are these older women, the NAMI mommies, and they're dressed very well. And they're usually a parent of somebody with a mental illness, and they're there. There are the providers of mental health services, not dressed quite as well as the NAMI mommies. There are advocates and folks like me. If you looked on the side, you would see the drug reps in their nicer suits and their better smiles. And then you'd have the people in NAMI really focus on people what they called serious and persistent mental illness, right? And they had a certain number of diagnoses that were for them. And they were there and they were learning and they were part of it. And I was an advocate and a nice guy. And I talked about my mental health needs and I moved pretty smoothly through this group. I could go from click to click to click at the NAMI conference and feel good about myself. And I could feel like I was doing a good job and I wasn't a them, right? I'd stayed up late, panicked, found myself in the fetal position in my closet. I had contemplated suicide several times and I drank ungodly amounts of alcohol to survive. But I wasn't crazy. I wasn't a them. I was doing just fine. Now, I remember I had a moment where I had to address these issues on the spot. And it begins innocent enough, about 2 a.m. I'm in my hotel room and I get up to go to the bathroom. This is the Hilton. It's 2 a.m. I go into the bathroom, I shut the door behind me and I open my eyes. And I'm not in the bathroom. I'm in the hallway. I've just locked myself out, and I'm in my boxer shorts, which are all I've slept in. My wallet, my keys, everything, my phone, not the fancy one, but the flip phone is back there in the room. And I'm standing in my underwear. Thank God I was in my underwear at a hotel room at a NAMI conference. Now this hotel room was built like in a rectangle where all the rooms faced around, but that you could go in a complete squared loop. And I guess they had janitorial things and the elevators in the middle. And I don't know what to do. So I go around, I'm looking around, I can't figure out how to get back in my room. And I'm just about to go and just do it. Get in the elevator, go down to the lobby and tell people, yep, messed up. The elevator rings, and a couple of times people come up because, you know, it's DC, you want to have fun. I run around the outskirts of the hotel. Like if they're coming around one corner, I'm going around the next corner until they get to their room, and I'm just in my underwear hiding from them. And as I do that, I hear a voice, and this person says, "Are you okay?" I'm standing in my underwear, and I look over, and there's 3 people, and they're looking at me, and I recognize them from the conference. They're what we call mental health consumers. Some folks say I have mental health needs, but at least in the 90s, what we said was consumers. And they say, "Is everything okay with you? Do you need any help, buddy?" And I look at them, I say, I locked myself out. And they're real careful with me, right? Like they've seen people in the bad place before. And far as they know, this guy running around a hotel room in his underwear at a conference for that supports people with mental illnesses, I'm having a bad time. But they come over to me, and one goes to their room and gets me like a blanket to put over myself, and the other one goes downstairs to get somebody to come up to my room and let me in. And they talk to me in a real calm, cool voice, making sure I'm okay. Did I bring my meds with me? Do you have anybody I need me to call? Like they know this, and they know the routine, and they've been taking care of each other. Maybe each one of them had a similar problem and take care. And maybe they found each other on the streets. Maybe they've recognized people in institutions and they've been there for each other, and they know exactly how to act. And at that moment, that epiphany of what an asshole I am, even though I was doing the right things behaviorally in my head, thinking of myself as different, at that moment, they weren't a them, they were an us, and they wanted to help me. I've not been perfect since then. There have been moments of pride and vanity, moments when I still went on to think about suicide or find myself in a fetal position in my closet and then put on my suit and tie the next day and acted like I had my shit together. But deep down, I know that's not the case. Deep down, I know that I'm part of a community, and in that funny moment in a hotel room, that community was there for me. And I've got to get over my own bullshit and be there for them and be a part of an us, not a them. And that's my little story. Thank you.
Thank you, Dave. I know that it's safe to say Dave. I'm not sure what to say after that. Thank you, man.
You can say Emmanuel. Nelson's my real name.
Yeah.
Emmanuel sometimes, because sometimes like if you hear my story on Risk, I say things they don't want them to know about at work. But this story is.
I hear you. Yep. Oh, there's a Risk theme here tonight. I like it. That means we're doing good stuff because they play hardball. First of all, so number one, thank you very much for sharing that story. Number two, I want to see your tattoos.
So can you see them?
And I want to know what they mean because they're both.
So they're masks.
Okay.
They're masks, right? So this one is sort of a fairy mask. I can put over my eyes and I can see you right through them.
Can you?
It's sort of a dragon mask.
I don't believe you, Dave. I don't think
I can see you right through them. They're actually quite magical.
Yeah.
What they mean, first of all, they mean I really like the way they look.
Yes.
Right? And I like the color and the design and the artist. But for me, storytelling, comedy, they're a chance to put a mask on.
Yes.
You know, and so if I get up there and I tell jokes on stage as a stand-up comedian And Greg,
Comments coming in, people showing you love, and everybody wants to be loved. Am I right?
Yep.
So Erica and Jack, you'll check it out if you haven't already. Okay.
So, basically, there are these things I can put on. They can be something. Also, I have kids and nephews and nieces, and I can do a whole puppet show with my arms.
Man, how many talents does one dude in Madison have?
Well, I mean, it's all the same thing. I like to be full of shit.
Right. No, but you do it with style, which we all appreciate.
There you go.
Are you in Madison? Like as we speak?
Just outside of Madison.
What's outside of Madison?
McFarland. It's a little kind of sleepy town just outside of Madison.
Go with Madison on that one.
Yep.
Go with Madison. Yeah.
And I got to give a shout out. I see Greg Pickett. Good job, Dave. One of the best storytellers I've run into is watching us tonight.
Greg is good. I saw him recently at Twin Cities Moth. He's good.
Yep.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. I appreciate it. And I thank you for smiling the way you smile, because it's a little bit infectious.
Well, you got it.
Did you get that? Have you gotten that before?
I do smile a lot. I have depression. I have anxiety.
Yeah.
OCD is just about beat. I haven't had a plan for suicide in over a decade.
Good.
I believe that I can exert my own happiness along with my medications and my therapy.
Yes.
And so smiling is part of it. I'm going to do my goddamn best to find joy.
Goddamn right. Yeah.
Yep.
Good. Yeah. Man, there's a whole conversation there, but this is a show, and we're going to take a break. So people who are watching and storytellers, if you got to go to the bathroom, now's a great time. Now, look, you may have already done that. I get it. But now's like the official time to get another drink or to go for a 2-minute walk or go to the bathroom. I have a couple of announcements, but seriously, very much thanks to our first 3 storytellers, Jack, Erica, and Dave. You represented. I appreciate, because here's the thing. I don't want to get on like some weird podium here. I think that these stories really do matter. And I think when storytellers, and we all are storytellers or potential storytellers, when you are able or willing to go to those places that are uncomfortable and explore those places, and often it's the stuff we tend not to talk about, man, for me, that's often where beauty is. And that might sound a little corny, so let me get a little less corny and just say, I think you can help people immeasurably. I think you can save lives. Or maybe just help someone feel a little less shitty, which is a huge win. So thank you for that. Now, I'm going to do a little bit of plugging for my stuff now before we go on to our 4th storyteller. And while I do that, once again, I'm going to put in the chat a link. Actually, it's one link. And is Dave still on? No, I'm going to mute you. Dave, you've been muted. All right. So to everybody, I put in a PayPal and a Venmo. Again, as I said earlier, it's not to be aggressive. If you want to contribute, there it is. Choose one of those, not both. All right. It's cool. A couple of announcements I want to make. I know some people aren't here. They're relieving themselves and doing other things. Some of you know that we've had these ongoing events. We have had curated events like this evening called 7x7. We have had slams. Our next one is next Sunday. We have a 99-second slam. So if that's something of interest to you, let me know. There are still some spots available. We're taking up to 20 people. This is different level stuff. We've also been doing something called the Story Flash, which is a little more like story meets improvisation. All of this you can find in the group, and I'll put a link to that Facebook group in the chat. Most of you already know me and know what we're doing, so I don't want to be redundant here. Any financial contributions you make this evening are going to go to 2 podcasts. One is called Suicide Noted, which has been launched since July. And that's a podcast in which I talk with suicide attempt survivors. If you have an interest in learning more about that or want to hear it, go to Spotify or Apple, put in Suicide Noted, NOTED, and you can hear it. The other one is called Grit, and that will be launched soon. And I am doing that in partnership with Kurt Mullen. Kurt is here. And I'm going to ask Kurt to unmute himself for a moment so we can have a brief chat about the podcast before we move on to our final three storytellers. Kurt, are you with us?
I am. Can you see me and hear me?
Oh, man, yeah. Wait, I thought Amy was with me. Where's Amy?
Amy disappeared. She went upstairs. She's being very discreet about showing herself.
Yes. No, and I didn't really announce it. And so, yeah. So, Kurt, Here's the deal. And we only have like 2 minutes here, okay?
Okay.
I want to honor people's time. There is a podcast that will be launched soon that is around the style of personal narrative story. It's called Grit, and you're doing this with me. It's a two-man show, two-person show. What, for anybody here tonight that's listening, like, what do you think, in your words, what is that thing about, man?
What is
like, in essence, what is that podcast about? That was called an unfair question on the spot, but you've got it.
Okay. Wow. Okay. So, what is a grit story? We talk this way. We ask each other. We throw that ball back and forth. And I feel like your tagline is effective. Stories that matter. And I think what we've come up with so far is asking people to go a little bit further, like people are doing such an excellent job of tonight. Just, if the ball's going to bounce up at the end of the story, it means, you've really used some force. You've just wanted to drive it into the floor, and you've wanted to dig deep into some issue that you're fascinated with. And then you just want to take the just out of my talking, by the way. It's about getting clarity, and being, like these tellers tonight have been, awfully brave, candid. Isn't it funny how you can just tell when someone's being authentic and someone really wants to tell the story that they're telling? That's 100%. What we want. Naturally, when you start talking about what you want, you think about some things that maybe don't fit into the picture. And there'd be stories in which people don't show any kind of change or any proclivity to dig and to understand themselves a little bit better.
Yeah.
Yeah. How's that sound to you, Sean?
Awesome. I'm recording this, so it's so good that I'm going to listen to the recording and we're going to use it for our introduction.
Excellent.
Because you nailed it. Yeah. So Kurt, I think, is going to be able to stick around for the Q&A afterwards.
Yeah.
So if you have questions for him or me or the storytellers, I really do encourage you to stick around. I think there's an opportunity to not only learn about the stories, perhaps if you have questions about the stories themselves, but also this like craft that we're all, or many of us at least, are trying to get better at. I don't know if that's the right word, better at, but we're trying to sort of get deeper into and really get to the guts of it all. So I enjoy those conversations. So I hope you'll join us. So thanks, man. Thanks, Kurt.
Thank you.
Yeah, man. All right, let us return. If you're on the toilet, excuse me, come back. I'll give you 30 seconds to come back from your bathrooms, come back from your dens or your living rooms or your walk. Get settled in. Get a glass of wine or a beer or perhaps a cognac if that's your style. And I want to introduce you to our fourth of 6 storytellers this evening. Now, I did advertise it as 7x7. It wasn't intentionally deceiving, but we did that. One of our storytellers isn't here, but it's working out just fine. So our fourth storyteller this evening, also a brief introduction, much like Erica. Her name is, she's a comedian, an actor, an illustrator, and of course, a storyteller. She lives and performs all over New York City. Please welcome Sashalyn Medina. Sashalyn, are you unmuted? Let me spotlight you. Hang on one sec.
Can you hear me okay? Is this better?
Oh, you sound great.
Oh, yes.
Are you excited?
Oh, great. We got it. Okay. Thank you so much, Sean, for having me.
My pleasure. Whoops. Sasha, I think I just made a mistake and muted you. I apologize.
I'm unmuted.
Yep, you're good. Whenever you're
Okay.
ready, take your time. We are here to listen.
Sweet. Okay. It was May 2019, and I was living with my aunt in the Bronx. She's a small Latina woman, about 60 years old, and she complained about her joints a lot, but mostly about how tired she is all the time. She's very depressed, and during the same time, I was suffering from anxiety. Really bad anxiety, actually, because I had some really big auditions coming up. One day I was chilling at home, and she went out to run some errands. She called me to see if I wanted anything before she returned. That was our usual routine. So I picked up the phone, and she said, "Oh, Sashalyn, I forgot to tell you. Sean came by recently." Now, Sean is her grandson and my second cousin. Sean is 20 years old, tall, with long limbs, really big brown eyes, and pretty handsome. "Oh yeah, why'd he come over?" "Well, he and your mother are having a lot of problems." Sean was living with my mother, who was pretty toxic, I found. So I said, so it was kind of expected. And I said, "Oh," and she said, "Yeah. When he moved in recently, they've been having a lot of issues because the cops keep coming looking for him. He and his girlfriend, how do you say it? Trans? Yeah, trans. Go ahead, keep going. Yeah, he and his partner, they keep fighting, they keep hitting each other. So it's becoming a huge problem. And this caused so many issues. I swear to God, if she kicks me out, I'm going to set that house on fire." I was on the phone with my aunt when she told me this, but I can hear him say it in his rage. Sean is bipolar, unpredictable, unmedicated, and completely out of control. I panicked. "What? He said that? Did you tell my mom? Did you call her? Did you say anything?" "No, why would I call your mom?" "What do you mean, why would you call my mom?" "Ay, Sashalyn, he's not gonna do anything." "What do you mean he's not gonna do anything? He has a violent history. He's been to jail for this stuff. You have no idea what he's capable of." I quickly realized that I had gotten into a shortness of breath, so I hung up the phone and just started making phone calls to people who I thought might help me in this situation. I mean, even my therapist said he couldn't help me because he could not tell me what to do. "I'm really sorry, Sashalyn. I can't tell you whether you should call the cops or not. That's not something I can do." So finally, I call my best friend. And she says, "Sasha, if you call your mom, your toxic mother, you know what this is." I mean, she knew what she was getting herself into, bringing Sean into the house. Your mother is so used to playing with fire. This is how she lives. Whatever happens is not your fault. Finally, I was able to settle with that answer for a little bit. But it took a huge toll on me. I mean, especially that I decided that I would not call. Not only because I really didn't know how threatening this was and what level, whether I should take this seriously or not, but it really burdened me to even think about speaking to my mother, who I haven't spoken about in years, or even two in years. So that weight on my shoulder, I felt that for weeks. Tried to work through it through therapy, tried to sleep a little bit better, and then finally I was diagnosed with depression. Finally, some time goes by, almost a month, and I hear that Sean is at my Nana's house, but he's giving her huge problems as well. He does not want to work. So my Nana calls me, Sashalyn, please do something. Please talk to him. My family was used to seeking some advice from me because I seemed pretty stable to them. And what did I do? I didn't hesitate, because if someone asked me for help, I'm there to help. I convinced him to come to the city with me. I'll take you to a bar and I'll teach you how to sell your artwork online, because he liked to draw. We go to this gay bar. It's super cheap and friendly. And I noticed that as I'm talking to him about the artwork, he begins to sway back and forth. He can barely hold his beer. I said, Sean, are you okay, man? Yeah, I had a whole bottle of scotch before I got here. Oh my God. We have to go get you some food, man. Come on, let's get out of here. So we leave the bar, and as soon as we step out, he looks at me and he says, why did you bring me here? I said, what? What do you mean? Like, it's for a drink to talk to you? No, why did you bring me here? I was confused. I had no answer. He just put his hand on my shoulder and squeezed it and said, it's okay. Let's go get some food. That was bothering me the whole time I was watching him eat this pizza. Finally, I asked him, Sean, what was that about back there? You seem really upset. I don't like it at these bars. I don't like it when gay men stare at me. I know what they want. I know what they're thinking. I'm like, Sean, I don't know what, no one was staring at us. It was cool in there. You are part of the LGBT community because of who you're, I mean, I don't get what the problem is. And then things started to escalate very fast. He started to yell, and I started to get nervous. Finally, I took a second, and I thought to myself, Sashalyn, what are you doing? What the heck are you doing right now? Not only are you trying to argue with someone who is completely drunk, but he is sick. And you're sick too. Before you try to help someone else, you need to take care of yourself. So in the midst of the conversation, I just got up and said, Sean, I'm sorry, I really have to go. I can't stay here. I have to leave. I gave him a kiss goodbye, and he goes, oh yeah, you're just gonna hold a grudge. I know how this is gonna go. And I was like, Sean, I'll talk to you later, okay? And I walked out shaking, just trembling, scared that he was even gonna come after me because of his history with violence. But you know what? It felt like the right thing to do. It felt good because I finally decided to help myself work through this depression before I could even think about helping someone else. Sick people can't help other sick people, at least not productively anyway. Thank you.
Thanks, Sasha. Did you disappear on us?
Yeah, I'm sorry. Oh, my head is killing me.
You okay?
Yeah.
All right. I know that you're not feeling so well. I just wanted to like take a quick moment to thank you for sharing that.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Sorry about that.
Yeah.
I can't stay longer.
No, it's okay. You go take care of you. I appreciate you crafting that and sharing it with us. So get some rest.
Thanks, John. Thanks for the
All right,
time. Thank you guys. I appreciate it.
All right, Ben. Be well. Be well. Be well. Sasha was not feeling so hot. So she's going to take care of her. So let's introduce our fifth storyteller, fifth of six. Let me make sure that nobody else is spotlighted, because I feel like I have an issue with spotlighting and that others are spotlighted when they shouldn't be, and vice versa. I don't think Sasha's going to see these messages coming in, but yeah. Yeah. Sick people can't help sick people. Makes me think of hurt people, but that's a little different. Damage people. We're playing with the English language, but it's powerful. All right. Our fifth storyteller this evening is a writer and comedian from Wichita, Kansas. I don't think he lives in Wichita now, though, but I'm not sure. He'll tell us after he tells his story. He is the co-host. I think he's in Chicago. I think he's the co-host of the mental illness and addiction themed variety show called Psychotic Break. I know that's in Chicago. And his writing was featured in the book Bare Knuckled Lit, The Best of Right Club. Please welcome Daniel Shapiro. Hey, Daniel, take it away, sir.
Hi. I have a little case of screen fright because I've never done this before, but I think I'm gonna like it because I love to perform and I hate audiences. So this is from my book. It was called The King of Chicago. I had to change the title because there's a movie about mental illness with a similar title. So now it's called. And all you have to know about this is that it takes place in 2009. And by this point in the book, I am completely psychotic. The cops and my mother told me I needed to go to the mental hospital. I agreed. I knew it would be a good place for me to hide before I testified in court. I rode in a car with my mother. I told her I was going to buy her all these nice things. Even with the police escorting us on the way, I was still afraid I was going to get shot. My mother and I walked into the hospital waiting room with a cop. I knew from watching Cuckoo's Nest that I had to sign myself in so I could leave whenever I wanted. So that's what I did. The person at the desk wanted me to write my reason for being there. I ain't writing shit, I said in front of a child. I sat down and waited. On the radio, a disc jockey said it was obvious. I knew the disc jockey was talking about me, so I laughed. The cop turned off the radio. The cop said, "So what are you studying in college?" "Writing for television," I said. "Not sure what I'm gonna write about though," I said sarcastically. The cop, my mother, and I went into the examining room. I asked the cop when I was going to be relocated to the Bahamas so I could testify in court. He told me to slow down and that I was doing the right thing. Alarm bells went off in the examining room. "That's good. Alarm bells are going off," said my mother. 2 nurses came in. "Did you hear about this one?" said one of the nurses to the other. "Someone attacked his sister." She put air quotes around attacked his sister. The 2 nurses told me to put on a hospital gown. I didn't want to wear one. They said I had no choice. Even the cop didn't see why I had to wear a gown, but he still wanted me to wear one. I gave in. Fine, I'll wear the gown. I'll put on some lipstick. We'll have a good time. The nurses weighed me. I had lost 40 pounds in a few months. My mom and the nurses said that was a good thing. The doctor came in to examine me. He asked me how I felt. I said, fine. The doctor said, "You're the first person I've seen in months that isn't saying they're sick with the swine flu or something." The head doctor came in to talk to my mother. I felt safer because the head doctor was a woman. The nurse came in to pull out my IV that had been put in to hydrate me. I was scared because the nurse was a man. As he pulled out the IV, a little purple fountain of blood spurted out of my wrist. I thought that was pretty cool. My mom and the nurse left, and the psychiatrist on duty came in to talk to me alone. He looked and sounded a little like Philip Seymour Hoffman. I told him I had watched a movie about a mental hospital in class. The psychiatrist said, "It wasn't Girl Interrupted, was it? Because Winona Ryder should be in here." Now, I didn't say that. The psychiatrist said that. I would never say that. I told him the movie that I watched was about a man that needed to go to the mental hospital in order to escape life. "Don't know why I'm thinking about that now," I shouted sarcastically. "So what's been going on?" he asked. "Well, I've been studying the hero's journey too much in class. I think it's starting to affect my life. I've been scared." I said. "What's been scaring you?" asked the psychiatrist. "Crips," I said. "They're dumb. They tried to attack my parents' house, but they made too much noise." The psychiatrist said, "How about you stay here a while and relax? Take some time off school." "Just give me some drugs, man," I said. Then I raised my fist so he could give me a fist bump, but I put it down quickly because I remembered that I still had part of the IV attached to my hand. "You were thinking about pounding it," I said. "I was going to, but then you put your fist down," responded the psychiatrist. "Okay," I said, "you go take care of the rest of these crazy bitches." "I'm gonna go do that now," he said. He left to talk to my mother. I overheard him say to her, "He's still a little grandiose." A cute nurse came in with a wheelchair and told me to get in. I got in and she pushed me through the hospital, accompanied by my mother. The nurse talked to me as she pushed me. "I noticed you weren't wearing any jewelry," said the nurse. "No, I don't believe in it," I said. We wheeled past some doctors that were probably laughing at what I had just said. My mom and the nurse informed me that it was Halloween. I said, "Trick or treat, baby." I was wheeled into a room in the psych ward. I was laughing a lot. The cute nurse left and another nurse came in. She asked me why I was laughing. I told her it was because I was scared. "You laugh when you're scared?" she asked. "Yes," I said. She asked me what I was scared of. "Republicans," I said. "I won't tell you my political affiliation," she said. She asked me if I had any dietary restrictions. "I'll eat anything," I said suggestively in front of my mom. "How did I know he'd say that?" said the nurse. The nurse asked me if I went by any other name. "Some people call me the King of Chicago," I said. "I kind of like that." "Chicago's a big city," she said. "Not if you got your shit together," I said. "Thank you, Sean. This was a lot of fun. Did people leave?" Can't hear anybody?
People are here, bud. You're good, man.
They hear me?
Very good.
Yeah, we
Yeah,
can
very
hear you,
good.
man. I think everybody was here listening.
Thanks. Do you have any questions or anything?
I don't believe there are any questions right now, but if people have questions, they we'll have a little Q&A after the final storyteller goes, Cheryl. So if you can stick around for a little bit.
Yeah, I'm gonna make a little cocktail.
Yes, absolutely. There was a
Everybody could
moment.
hear me and everybody could hear me and everything.
Yes, everyone could hear you fine.
I'll be all right.
Okay, all right. Goodbye. I had a question, but nope. Goodbye. See you later. Get your cocktail.
Yes.
No, get your cocktail.
You got a question?
No, I was going to say that there was one of the funniest moments I can recall in a long time, but I don't remember exactly what you said, and I don't want to be the guy that tries to like recreate humor.
I love that guy.
It doesn't work that way, but you were saying something, and then you looked right up at the screen, right into my eyes, into my soul, Dan. And I don't know what it was. It was towards like the middle of your story, and you're just like, "I'm not that guy," and I just exploded in laughter.
Winona Ryder. Yeah, no, I don't want to offend Winona Ryder, any Crips, or anybody. They're all cool.
Everyone's good. Yeah, yeah. We don't want to make any more enemies here, do we?
Right, right.
All right, so get your cocktail.
Okay.
I'm going to take a moment. Just take a little moment. It's okay. All right. That was Dan. That was Dan Shapiro. I believe he's a member of the tribe. I'm proud to be a member of that too. I believe there are several people here. Put a peace sign up like Erica just did if you're also a member of the tribe. Either way, it's all good, but just hey. Ashton, what tribe are you talking about? I saw you. It's fine. You can be in it. I just don't think you are in it.
Just joking.
she's from New York and by association.
Okay. David, you know exactly
She
what
hear
tribe.
a lot of Yiddish from me.
David's asking what tribe. I think the answer to that question is if you're asking what tribe, you're probably not part of the tribe. But let us not digress. We need to come together in these difficult times. I don't say that lightly, but anyway, with the last name like Wellington, most people don't know I'm Jewish, but I don't practice. But I'm still part of the tribe. That's how it works. Period. Let me introduce our final storyteller of the evening. Yes, Kat, you can make your own tribe. You can have a mutiny. You can do whatever you want. Again, before I introduce our final storyteller this evening, I really do want to thank you. I know sometimes I get silly, but I do want to thank you for taking the time to be here and listen and watch. It means a lot. I know you could be doing a lot of things with your evenings and you're doing this, so thank you very much, really. Our final storyteller this evening is based in Boston. She does a lot of things, and I'm going to ask her about these things after her story. She's a storyteller and producer. She's appeared on the Moth main stage, Risk, TEDx, and other stages. She is the creator and director of Suitcase Stories. It's a popular series that features stories of refugee and immigrant life, as well as the founder and director of Talent Act, where she curates talent for the national TV program Stories from the Stage, which, by the way, I think they're taking pitches now. I'll ask her after her story, so if you have an interest in that, it's a good time. And Stories from the Stage is featured on World Channel and PBS. I'm going to share more about her and her hobbies and other things after her story. Please welcome Cheryl Hamilton. Oops, Cheryl, I accidentally muted you. I apologize. That's the second time I've done that. Unmute yourself. Yep,
Yeah,
good.
I was gonna say, thanks everybody.
Man,
So,
you're
and
good.
thanks for everybody who told. It's been great to join you tonight. So I don't remember what I said or how I said it when I called Johns Hopkins Medical Center to say that I was thinking about suicide. I do remember, however, what the doctors looked like when they met me in the lobby after I'd entered. My friend KC had dropped me off, asked me if she wanted to walk inside, and I said, no, I got this, which he had to have wondered, does she really? But nonetheless, I walked in, I took a seat as if I was waiting for a dentist appointment until a man walked out. He probably could have been cast on Grey's Anatomy, but if he was, he would have been put in the accounting department. He was very stiff and very formal and looked all over the room trying to find me. And then I raised my hand when he said my name, and he looked confused. He looked confused as he walked closer, and he said, "You're Cheryl?" And I said, "Yes, I'm Cheryl. I'm here for our appointment." He said, "Wow, I thought you'd be on the floor." So I guess I must have sounded scared on the call. Except I know that if I could recreate that call, I probably would have sounded like this. "Hi, my name is Cheryl. I'm having thoughts of suicide. Do you think I could see someone today? I mean, I don't want to bother anybody. It's fine if it takes a little time to see somebody, but I'd like to talk to somebody." "Today? You have someone today? God, that's so nice of you. Thank you so much. I'll be in about an hour." But he keeps saying, "I thought I'd see you on the floor." But he doesn't know me. I don't show people when I feel like I want to be on the floor. And I said, can we meet now? And he said, of course, of course. And he follows me down, I follow him down a long yellow hallway to a small room where two other gentlemen are sitting. So now it's me and three men, and all three of them are wearing lab coats. It seems strange. I'm here for a clinical appointment, not to have my blood drawn. But it turns out it's a teaching hospital. The two gentlemen next to him are learning about therapy, and he starts an intake. Now, I'm a social worker. I know what intakes look like. Sometimes it looks like a conversation that people listen to and then they write down notes, and sometimes it looks like a clipboard. Today, it looks like 3 clipboards. Dr. Mike, as his name is, starts asking me a series of questions, and it sounds like I'm in a job interview. I practically could answer by saying, oh yes, I went to Clark University. I worked as a membership coordinator shortly after. I went to London. I ran political campaigns. Then I came back. I mean, I seriously could have given him the sort of stats. But he's asking me about why I'm here, why I called for the first time in my entire life an emergency line saying that I didn't think I could go on. But I approach it like a job interview. I approach a lot of things like that in life. I say, well, 2 years ago, I met a man in New Haven who was trying to commit suicide, and he sat on a ledge and he jumped. And then a month later, I was attacked and raped on a black and white checkered floors in my hometown. And then I decided that I should pursue a trial. So I stuck around and I got a job, because you need a job if you're going to stay in your hometown. And I got a job running a refugee program. And well, that refugee program ended up on the national news because hate groups came to town. And then a year later, when the trial was over and my rapist, well, he got a $500 fine and a 1-year probation, I decided it was time to leave town. So now I'm here in Baltimore. I'm here in Baltimore because I have a really great job and I don't want to be in Maine. But I can't seem to get it together because I guess, well, all those memories in Maine, I have time to think about them now. In Maine, I just avoided them. I kept moving forward and now I'm having these panic attacks. But he stops me for a second, and he stops me because he's kind of smiling. And so are the gentlemen next to him. And I'm confused. I mean, I know you're supposed to cheer someone up, but why is he smiling at me? Usually when I tell this story to therapists in our first appointments, they say things like, oh my God, like that's a lot. He's smiling because he says that I'm a perfect candidate for a new study they're launching on multiple traumas. And I am a perfect candidate. And in fact, if I sign up for this multiple trauma study, I will get free therapy for 6 weeks intensively, including exposure therapy. And he thinks I need exposure therapy because what I tell him next. What I've told him is that essentially, I can't go into any place that has black and white checkered floors or walls or ceilings. And there's a cafe down the street called the City Cafe in Baltimore that looks really good, and it'd be really convenient if I could get a coffee, but every time I get close, my body starts to shake and I can't look inside. I tell him about a date I went on with a boy named Tom, how he invited me to a bar in downtown Baltimore, and I came up to the door and swung it open. I looked inside and it was just a sea of squares everywhere, and they were climbing the walls and taking over the ceilings, and I just said, Tom, I can't. And then came up with a reason why that had nothing to do with the rape. Dr. Mike says, well, don't worry. You're eligible for exposure therapy. And I think to myself, exposure therapy, like I haven't been exposed to enough already. I mean, give me a break. But he says, it will help. Trust me. You can go back to an ice cream parlor. I do like ice cream. Now, I don't know if you know how exposure therapy works, but let me give you an example. Let's say you're scared of snakes, right? Well, Dr. Mike will have you talk about your fear of snakes and what snakes mean to you. After a few appointments, he might bring you like a plastic snake and like gently put it near you and you might freak out, or maybe you'll hold on to it. Then he'll have you go to the local snake museum where they're behind glass and you're still safe. And eventually, you'll hold a garden side variety snake in your hand and you'll be amazed that you're not frightened. And maybe you'll like, buy yourself a snake skin jacket and call him Cobra afterwards as a gift to yourself. For me, it's checkered floors. It's been checkered floors for a few years. So at our first appointment, when I meet him, he pulls out a sheet of paper and he hands me a black pen. And he tells me I should start drawing little black boxes all over the page. My hand shakes. I can hardly get a straight line, let alone a square. The next appointment, he brings it a chessboard and he just has me open and close it until I can breathe. Eventually, he tells me I should go walk by the City Cafe. This time, just walk. Don't feel like I have to go in because that's part of the anxiety. Just keep walking by, catching it in the glimpse of my eye. And after several weeks of this, recounting the stories, amongst other therapy we're talking about, but particularly around the checkered floors, he says that it's time. I should go somewhere. I should stand on his checkered floors and be proud. And I said, I can't, or at least I can't alone. He said, you should call someone then. I called Tom. Tom is Irish Catholic like me, and he likes sarcasm, and he was the guy I had the date with when I had to turn around at the door. I've since told him what's happened and why this is a problem. I also called Tom because it's who I called the same day that I called the hospital, thinking that I was done with life. It was a funny conversation if I look back at it, because in fact, I first called my brother as I was heaving and crying in the middle of a crowd in downtown Baltimore in the Inner Harbor, trying to catch my foot before I fell over because my world was spinning. My brother lives in Boston. He couldn't get there fast enough. He says, please tell me there's someone local you can call to come to you. And I tell him I'll call Tom, and he says, good, I'll be there soon, but call Tom. I called Tom, but not right away. I had started wandering, as you do when you have anxiety. I wandered so far that I ended up in this field or a park in the middle of Baltimore, but I didn't know where I was because I was so new to the city. And Tom said, of course, I'm coming. Where are you? And I said, a park. And he said, which park? And I said, I don't know. And he's like, well, I can't come get you if you don't tell me which park. And I said, but I don't know. And that made me more anxious. And next thing I know, we play this very strange game of guess which Baltimore park Cheryl's in. And the only reason he was able to find me is luckily this park has a very strange looking gazebo. Have you ever tried to come up with the word gazebo when you're having an anxiety attack? It's not easy. This isn't easy either. Standing outside of this bar that I don't want to go into, but I know I have to or I'll avoid them forever. Tom gets out of the car, he pushes open the door and he doesn't stop and give some stupid speech about how we'll get through it together. Instead, he just marches on and orders a beer at the bar. I come up behind him and I pull a chair to the side and I sit down and Tom looks at me and he says, so what do I do now? And I say, I don't know, I guess you just sit there. He smiles, he takes out a piece of paper and starts doodling. He thinks he's going to be a cartoonist with the New York Times. I take out a different piece of paper. Dr. Mike says I have to write down a number that basically signifies the feeling I'm having about anxiety, between 1 and 10. 10! But then I take a breath and another. 9. 8. He tells me when I get to 5, we can leave. 5 feels far. Or at least it did back in 2008. Today, I'm not a 5 or a 4, I am a 1, a woman who orders coffee and dances on black and white floors and has made peace again. Thank you.
Cheryl, thank you so much. Man.
Wow, thank you.
Thanks for letting me share.
I guess people are unmuting themselves. That's cool. No worries. Hey, you all can unmute yourselves in just a moment because I want to share a few things and I want to ensure that everybody can hear it. Cheryl, thanks for that.
Thanks for letting me join.
Yeah. Do you want to share a little bit about your projects?
Sure.
That you've got going on and things that may, that we want to know more about.
Yeah, so thanks to, again, for everyone sharing. If you're not familiar with Stories from the Stage, this is the program produced by World Channel that airs on World Channel, PBS, and on Facebook. It's a program that features amateur storytellers telling, just like this, true life stories on all kinds of themes. We are going into our 4th season. It's been really fun. We feature people from all over, but right now, really all over, because usually we'd be filming in the studios in Boston, so people have to be in the studio, but right now you're filming from home. So this is curated by a company that I co-founded with my partner, Anna Willis Collier. It's Tell and Act. I will add this when I'm done talking. I'll put all the links in the chat, but tellandact.com. Like Sean, we believe that stories can change someone's lives, hence the act. And you can see the upcoming themes. We're looking for stories on themes like Cast Your Vote, The Good Kind of Trouble, Missed Connections, and we work with people and help them get ready to perform. And over 50% of the people have never even told a story before. This is not a show that you have to have been a storyteller. We believe everyone can tell a story. Yeah. The other program that I do that is another one of my great privileges is Suitcase Stories. It honors refugee and immigrant voices. It was started as a means to raise funding for the International Institute of New England, because we are an organization that works with 2,500 immigrants annually, helping people with refugee resettlement, English, employment, citizenship, legal services. And it just became popular and took off, and now it's my full-time job. And if you are someone with a migration story, please reach out to me. I believe everyone has a suitcase story. You do not have to be an immigrant. All of our lives are shaped by the people we meet, the people we connect with from our travel. And so anyway, lots to talk about, but I really share the importance of talking about mental health, and that comes up with a lot of the stories in both shows.
Yeah. So do you sleep?
There's some people on this. There's some people in the chat that might disagree if I say yes. So I'm just going to say sometimes.
Once in a while you sleep, but other than that, you're doing a lot of different things. And oh, by the way, just craft that brilliant story you shared. Okay.
Oh, thanks.
That was brilliant. Thank you so much. Honest, I actually don't care so much about brilliant. I just think it's like, wow, you shared that. So yeah, thank you. All right, so let me do this. Let me sort of formally thank everybody who's come this evening to watch, listen, or both. Of course, to our storytellers who crushed it.